Good afternoon, Penguin Beaches, and welcome down to the left wing. We have a super exciting show planned for you today. Hello, my name is Jax. I'm going to be your naturalist down here today. We have Jason behind the camera. And today, before the show, I did a bit of beach combing. So I found us a Cape reef worm house, but I also found a species brand new to Penguin Beach. I found some riffraff on the shoreline this morning. So I'm just going to bring it in quickly. And another warm.
Hi, Jax. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to WildEarth. Welcome to Penguin Beach. I am so honored to be here with Jax and Jason. Of course, I saw Byron, so I am so thrilled to be this side. It's such an honor, such a privilege, and it's such a beautiful place. I am really looking forward to the next couple of days here. Very excited for that.
So this riffraff is otherwise known as Cedric, and Cedric is going to be spending a couple of days here at Penguin Beach. So Cedric, this species can be identified by its height and its blue eyes. And Cedric has very wisely left his limpet cap at home, visiting Penguin Beach, just in case any limpets might have spotted it, seen it as a threat, and tried to protect their scar or their territory. So Cedric has been wise, and he's very excited to be down here with us and actually seeing this coastline for the very first time. So Cedric has never seen an African penguin before today. And so super excited to have Cedric down here, and we'll be chatting about what he sees in this ecosystem for the very first time. We'll talk about our penguins, and we'll see what other interesting animals grace us on the show today.
No, thank you so much, Jax. I really appreciate it. It's amazing. I can't believe that I've never seen a penguin, an African penguin in my life. So today, yes, as Jax says, it's the first time I've seen a penguin, and oh, they're absolutely super duper cute and beautiful, and it's amazing. Just looking at the characters, the behavior for the whole morning with Jax, so she's really taught me so much around here.
So let's go have a look at the weather, but thank you for that, Cedric. And then when we come back, we'll be chatting a little bit more about our penguins and what Cedric has learned this morning. We're going to do some testing a bit later on. So we have decided to come down to the left wing this morning, where we have some resting penguins and some juveniles who are still in molt. And you can see these penguins are, for the most part, just relaxing and enjoying the shoreline. The tide is coming in at the moment, so later on we might be able to see some penguin politics. But Cedric, do you see any penguin behavior that you find particularly interesting yet?
Yes, Jax. I mean, I've just been looking at them, and it's just amazing actually how, like, the timing they go out. So when they do go out early in the morning, going for hunting, and when they come back at the same areas, and it's like, you know, they all kind of gather up as a group, and like safety in numbers. So it just really makes sense to me. It's the same as back at Djuma Private Game Reserve, that a lot of animals use safety in numbers, and I see penguins doing the same thing. But it's just beautiful, just seeing them actually enjoying the sun for the day, and of course drying out all their feathers. I'm sure they're really getting, you know, a little bit more dry for later activities and all that. But yes, no, definitely a lot of excitement, a lot of interaction between certain individuals here. And it's amazing just to see how each individual, each pair, and how much they really kind of take care of each other. And no, it's all a learning curve for me, so I'm really looking forward to the rest.
So it looks like we might have one penguin who wants to have an argument with the penguin below it. So they've just gone to relax now. It looks like he might just be laying down on his rock. So we've seen it recently where sometimes the penguins seem to get into these big group fights. It looks like peace has been restored.
Over the past year, many WildEarth explorers have won life-changing travel prizes.
Today I was told I have won the most amazing prize to go to Maritaba. I can't believe it.
I am most excited to meet some of the guides.
The animals, the birds and everything else it has to offer. We can't wait to go.
I would love to take my little grandson up with me on this experience to Funda.
WildEarth has brought so much to my life, and I am thrilled and grateful to have this opportunity.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to visit.
Thank you very much for this amazing prize, WildEarth.
Sign up to be an explorer today and you will be entered into a monthly draw which could see you jetting off to a dream location in 2022. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
You can see our birds are really just enjoying a relaxing time on the shoreline. And I think as the show progresses, that tide is going to start moving them. And Cedric, today's your very first day seeing these penguins. We've got a question coming in. So Cedric, Leah's asking you, what are you most excited to see today?
Leah, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here on WildEarth at Penguin Beach. What am I most excited to see today? Well, I think it's really everything. Everything so far has excited me. All the cormorants, the different cormorants that we do have here at Penguin Beach. The seagulls, as you know that we don't get any seagulls up there at Djuma Private Game Reserve. And of course, the stars of the show, the penguins, the African penguins. So I think when I did drive in here right in the beginning this morning, and I saw my first penguin, I was really so excited. I almost forgot to turn my car off. So yeah, no, that's just one of the stars of the show around, and just to see just their behavior. And actually just listening to Jax and how she was explaining everything, and just her knowledge and her passion for these birds. So yes, I'm actually looking forward to whatever I can see. I enjoy. I also saw a gama. It was a southern rocker gama, and yes, Jax showed me the southern rocker gama that I haven't seen around this area before. So that was very exciting. Almost reminds me of the blue-headed agama there up at, in the Lowveld. A little bit smaller, but it's pretty much the same kind of idea with the coloration on the heads, with that blue head, and of course of the male, and of course the female, this a little bit of a duller, like a brown color. But yeah, everything, Leah. But anyway, thank you so much for the questions, and thanks for joining us this afternoon.
So it's very nice to have another guide around. There's certainly something in guide culture where guides are inherently curious. So to show another guide around and see an area that you know through their eyes is quite special. You can see we've got a penguin that Jason was just framing up so nicely with that kelp wash up in front of it. And these penguins are going to have to cross that kelp a little bit later on. It does get super slippery. And in honor of Cedric's very first Penguin Beach show, he's also going to be trying some kelp or some sea bamboo on show for us today. So sea bamboo is actually very good for you, Cedric. This kelp is very high in nutrients and minerals. Most ice cream actually contains kelp. It's a really great binding agent. So I think we should have Cedric perhaps make his way in front of the camera soon, and get him to eat some kelp for us. So I picked one for him this morning. Just a nice kelp leaf. It's a little bit dry now in the sun, but we're not going to worry too much about that. But before we do that, we have the crazy eights. We have the crazy eights, and we have the seagulls chasing the parents, chasing the seagulls. So yesterday we finished off our show with the crazy eights, me and Flippy, and as the cameras went off, we had a penguin quite literally swim underneath our poor crazy eights to try and get out of the water, because the Egyptian geese just attack the penguins. So let's watch and see what happens here. Cedric's kelp is waiting for him, so we can do that at any time. But look, the little ducklings have found a gap in the kelp to swim around. So these are the Shelleys. We have Mark and Cleopatra. I'm very glad it is not Byron and Jax. I don't think a female goose wants to be called a Jax. And Cedric and I have a little wager going because, to my knowledge, the Egyptian goose is in fact a duck.
At WildEarth, our explorers are treated to a weekly newsletter, bursting with fascinating features and never-seen-before snippets. Recently, we have added some brand new sections which we think you will love. Find out what happens behind the scenes with our crew when they are not live on WildEarth. Have a giggle at our moments of the week from both Safari and Penguin Beach. And Ranger Eric answers your questions with fascinating and in-depth explanations as to the whys and hows of nature.
Wild dogs coming out of, or the puppies coming out of the den site making those very high-pitched noises.
All of this and more delivered to your inbox every week. So what are you waiting for? Head over to our website, sign up to be an explorer, and join the adventure. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
So we've just come back to our Egyptian geese. We were going to go have a look at Cedric, but I think these little ducklings are a lot cuter. And Cedric and I were, Cedric's laughing at me now. Cedric and I were saying how he thinks that these are geese, and I believe that Egyptian geese are ducks. So viewers, what do you say? Nadia, it is lovely to have Mark and Theo. I must say this is one of my favorite parts of our show is spending time with these ducklings and watching what happens. So I believe there might still be 8 or 9 ducklings. I haven't counted them yet. I might actually give Cedric that job. Have a look and see how many. Cedric sees 8. 8 ducklings. And you can see a lot of them have climbed out the water and are now just shaking off those tiny little wings, only to hop back into the water again. And I just find it incredible that these tiny little birds are undertaking this movement along the shoreline every day. They swim in the ocean every day. You never find the adult Egyptian geese just swimming in the ocean by themselves. So Spas, you have asked a brilliant question. You're asking if gulls will predate on Egyptian geese ducklings. And the answer is yes, if the geese parents would give them the chance. I've watched kelp gulls attack ducklings of a different duck species, where at the day we started with 5 ducklings and ended the day with 0, because all of the ducklings were eaten by kelp gulls. Heartlip gulls might try their luck. I don't think it would be their preference. They quite enjoy smaller things. But the kelp gulls would definitely go and have a look. And Cedric, in all your years in the bush, have you had some interesting encounters with Egyptian geese and their ducklings? Do you have any stories for us?
Yes, Jax, with the Goslings and all that.
The ducklings?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I saw especially the water monitors. I know the water monitors have really kind of predated on the Goslings of the Egyptian geese, and yeah, the parents are very, very protective, like any kind of parents. And I know that the male and the female, they are so aggressive if anything really comes to the youngsters. And it's always beautiful just to see the parenthood on these little Goslings and all, because it just shows you that they don't go so far and they never tend to wander off too far away from the parents. It's not like where you saw with the blacksmith lapwing. The blacksmith lapwing, those two there at Djuma Private Game Reserve, they all went on to the other side of the dam. They went wandering by themselves. But with these real Goslings, the little baby, the little chicks here, they really stay close to the parents. And I think maybe this is the case, is there's just a lot of danger around you as well. Just like Jack says, I think the kelp gulls, I think that could be definitely one of the big issues around here. And I think they really want to make sure that those little ones are safe. But yes, I've seen mainly, as I said, the water monitors. They do tend to become quite aggressive with the little youngsters. But yeah, there's a lot of predators. I think not long ago there was a beautiful video that was shown. I think it was those Nkuhuma sub-adults where they chased like juvenile goslings inside of the water, like a little pond, a little dam area. And then, of course, they went to go and fish him out. It was a very sad video to see, but it just shows you it's, I think the success rate is not that great.
So while Cedric's been chatting, I've just counted, it's still 9 ducklings. Arctic Circle, I knew you would have my back, and Arctic Circle says, Cedric, that, well, she didn't mention your name specifically, but that these are ducks and not geese. So Arctic Circle, you are the reason I get free lunch today. Thank you very much for that. Very looking forward to see what Cedric will be buying me. You can see the little ducklings are now cleaning themselves.
All Wild Earth explorers have a chance to join our naturalists in a monthly Fireside Chat. This is a great way to learn more about our guides, animal characters, and wildlife locations. We would love to hear from you as to the topics that interest you the most. Email us your ideas or tweet using the hashtag WildEarth, and we will be sure to take them into account when planning our evenings around the fire in the future. Wild Earth explorers, it's in your nature.
There's a big male leopard coming this way.
I've been waiting for a sighting of the two of them like this together.
She just, for me, is just one of the most pretty females out here.
As you can see, we're sitting with the Duke of Djuma, Tingana, who is busy surveying his territory as the sun begins to set on another day in South Africa.
The ducklings are preening themselves, and Cedric was talking about how, the ducklings are sometimes chased into the water, and these ducklings are born ready for that. I think it's only about 6 hours after they've hatched will they start actually leaving the nest and heading out, and they can swim pretty much straight away. So we've been watching these ducklings, I believe, for about a week now that we've had them. I think we saw them on Earth Day. It's one of the first days that we spotted them. And to me, it doesn't seem that they've grown all that much. They look the same size to me. But certainly the life experience that they've developed in these 7 days must be exponential. They've been bashed by waves. They've experienced penguins and gulls. And they're all huddling up now, which is really cute. We've got a couple of the ducklings who are not in the huddle. So Cedric counted 8, and when we first had them on the show, we actually counted 8. I think it was Honey Badger who told us it was 9, and Honey Badger called them the Shellies. Very interesting question, Darkman Lover. So, Cedric, Darkman Lover wants to know if you would ever trade in your bush skills and become a marine guide.
Darkman Lover, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here on WildEarth, here at Penguin Beach. Would I ever change my side here at Djuma Game Reserve or the bush side for marine? Darkman Lover, to be honest, I'll be frank with you. No, I think I enjoy the bush life. See, I was brought up in the bush. I was brought up in that area all my life, so I know that area. I just love the activity of different kind of animals there that we do have, the variety and all that. But then again, on top of that, on the other side of the coin, you must understand, like Jax, I know that she's really much been brought more up in an area for marine stuff. So it's good that you all got the different kind of loves for different sides of these, the diversity of fauna and flora. I think it's very important. So some of us can really get into the marine sides, and some of us can get more into the safari, in the vegetation, savanna kind of woodlands kind of aspects. But no, I think I'll miss the Djuma clan too much. Not talking about the crew at the camp, but I'll talk about the hyena clan. But yes, I'm very happy to see, just to take a look at this and just to see the differences that we do have here in South Africa. And as I said, the diversity is amazing, really, really incredible. And I'm very privileged to say that we can, go from the coastal side, have this beauty, to go into the, Greater Kruger Park area and to have that beauty. So we definitely have the best of both worlds around here. So, but yes, I think I'll stick to Djuma Private Game Reserve. It's where my home and my heart is.
Thanks for that question, Dark May Lover. I think Cedric's saying that because he's never seen a whale, but we'll have to see if he can be converted. But you will find that most guides, although every guide has their area that they're most passionate about, we tend to just love wildlife, and you can see Cedric has gone on leave to find more wildlife, and I do exactly the same. I go to the bush on holiday, so it's definitely a way of life and not just a career for people like us. And Jason's framed up some beautiful penguins. You can see the size difference in those penguins quite clearly. So sometimes the male penguins are slightly bigger, but there's definitely a lot of size difference. You get some adult penguins who are very small and others that are much larger. And yesterday we had a question from Cameron, which is a brilliant question, and it was talking about our animals at the sea being just a bit bigger, which we'll discuss in just a few moments.
Here at WildEarth, we have added a range of new products and designs for the WildEarth shop. If you love being in nature, then we have a new range just for you. Our animal character line continues to grow, and this week we have incorporated a beautiful Tandy design to celebrate our favorite queen's life. April is Earth Day month, and investing in our planet is the message. And finally, there's a range just for our very own WildEarth explorers. Head over to our shop now and see what you can find.
Look at that, there's a tiny leopard cub. Karula has given birth overnight. Look at the little guy, we just came around the corner. That is incredible, that's probably his first solo kill.
Oh, and have a look, here comes Osana with the monitor lizard.
Osana, of course, at the same time decided to go climbing up the tree. He's just nearly fallen out of it again.
Look at that, he's running away. The buffalo is chasing Osana at the moment. Run away from this very big animal coming. That was so funny.
So we are watching these penguins as they are about to stop moving. The tide's coming in, and I want to go back to Cameron's unanswered question about animals at the sea being larger. And the answer is actually according to one study that studied about 170,000 different animal species, and the answer is yes. So sea animals have evolved to be bigger. And that would make sense with whales and dolphins. Millions of years ago, most sea animals were a lot smaller and have then become bigger. So that was the one article that I found that was describing this, and how, in the ocean, being bigger is sometimes better because you're not finding food all the time. Food comes in waves, quite literally. So you could have no food for a very long time, and then suddenly you have a feast. These days, as the ocean changes, this is not such a great thing. So your bigger whales like the blue whale are struggling a lot more than whales like the humpback whale, because the bigger you are, the more food you need, more likely you are to be in the way of things like ships. So ocean animals can sometimes be bigger, and most of them seem to fall into that category where even the worms are bigger than what you might experience on land. But what's also very interesting is that your deep sea trenches, your deep ocean, has gigantism and dwarfism, like Flippy brought up yesterday on the show, with islands. So essentially these deep sea trenches are so isolated, they become their own underwater island. And so in the deep sea environment, your ocean animals are often much bigger to account for food being less and for predators also being less. But there is also dwarfism, so very small animals to adapt to niches and areas that other animals would not live. So very interesting question. Thank you so much, Cameron, for asking that, because that sent me down a lovely rabbit hole. It has been answered by science, so I can't move the Burrowing Petrel Award over to you yet. And Jason and I have just spotted penguins. You'll see we've got a group of penguins who are gathering on the shoreline. I think these penguins are looking to go home. Oh, Riley. I was not going to ask Cedric to do this, but you have. And so, Cedric, Riley would love to know how good your penguin call is. So we'd love to hear it. You are so good at doing the other animal calls. It's Riley, not me, who's asking.
Riley, good afternoon. Thank you for joining my penguin call, African penguin call. Well, look, I don't want to chase Jax away. I'm just very scared because
I could get the call for you.
I can try. Okay. I don't know.
I would keep going. That was quite good, actually.
Was it good?
I would keep going.
Okay. Let me try again. Sorry, Riley. I just had to clear my throat up a bit because it is a very rough noise. It does hurt the vocals a little bit. It's like a leopard soaring. So when you have to get really deep and right at the back of the throat. So I want to make sure Jason's earpiece is also off because I don't want to blow his eardrums here. But let me try again. Thanks, Riley. No, I really feel at home.
And Riley, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, because I was not going to ask, but if we ask each other, we can say no, but if you ask us, we cannot. So that was... So that was really quite brilliant. Thank you, Cedric. You're very good at calls, I must say. When I have watched your calls, I was saying to Cedric before the show, when you work at sea, you don't call anything, so you don't really mimic the sounds of the animals you watch. But I think that was a brilliant call.
My favorite thing about WildEarth are the animals and the interaction and the ability to wait and watch and not rush off. You get to watch their behavior and learn about the individuals. I would like to see the hyenas at the hyena den, and I have. Look at that. If I could be any animal, I would be a cheetah. I would love to run fast.
Our Western Cape coastline is graced with the Cape fur seal. This playful species is curious and entertaining. At Hout Bay Seal Rescue Centre, seals in need are rescued, fed and nursed back to health by our well-trained team of dedicated staff and volunteers. This wonderful legacy of the centre is continued as these protected creatures are rehabilitated and released back into the wild.
Always. I love it. Especially with penguins.
So Cedric has spotted his first bullying event down here at Penguin Beach. We have an adult bird that has moved a juvenile bird to the water. So the juvenile bird is molting, and this adult African penguin is being very aggressive, as will the other. So we have a lot of banter between us guides, and I think I give Cedric quite a lot of trouble. So we've got an opposite thing going here. With penguins, it is the older penguins that give the younger penguins trouble, and at WildEarth, it is the younger guides who give the older guides some trouble.
No, I just told you so.
And Cedric has just seen a poor penguin fall into the water. So he's not used to the clumsiness of penguins just yet. But that juvenile bird is in the midst of its molt, so you can see it's probably started only a few days ago. It's looking very puffy, so they often look like this when they molt, Cedric. They look very uncomfortable to me. And all the adult birds, you'll see as he walks through, the adult birds will try and pick at this poor juvenile. So they do nothing wrong.
Yeah.
The adults just hate having them around.
Pretty much like putting them in their place, in a way.
In a sense, yeah, but as soon as he's molted, which takes about 3 weeks, then he'll be accepted amongst the adults. He'll be more accepted when they go fishing. And if you have a look, you can use my binos. Look just at the eyes of that penguin. You'll see they've got some white just above the eye, and that is a partial molt that they undergo at sea, because that just helps them to fit in with the adults a little bit better at sea, so the adults will let them fish in the group, because otherwise the adults don't want them in the group because they're slow and inexperienced.
I always believe it's always amazing with coloration. Coloration of youngsters, and there's always certain reasons for certain things. I mean, I'm like, taking a look at that young penguin now that's going through its molt. It's the same like when you're looking at a warthog, a little piglet. Of course, he hasn't got his little tusks on, but of course he's got like this real like white beard that comes out. So it actually really kind of acts like a tusk, or looks like a tusk to other predators, and just to kind of deter them and thinking, well, this little piglet's got very big tusks and all that, but of course back at the ranch, it's just like really a white fluff to resemble the tusks itself. So there's a lot of difference with the colorations and different parts of the body that always the youngsters will have just for protection and, just to kind of grow up with and camouflage and all that as well.
So that's amazing. I had no idea about that. That's really cool with the warthogs. So lovely to get that knowledge, that bush knowledge, and see how different things remind you of what you see in the bush. We also had another unanswered question before I forget, and that was one about the girdled lizard and how big the Cape girdled lizard gets. And they're actually a lot smaller than what I thought. So the maximum size is actually about 8 centimeters in one of the studies done on them. Believe it or not, there's actually not that much research being done on a lot of the lizards and a lot of the reptiles that we see here. Oh, and it looks like we've got some penguin politics that might play out on the shoreline. It's so weird, they're like circling each other. Oh, it's not necessarily politics. So what you're seeing, Cedric, is a love triangle.
Ah, okay, so it's 2 males and a female.
I think so. That's very interesting.
Amazing behavior, honestly. I think penguins is one of those bird species that you can actually sit here and just watch their behavior and how closely they are
So they're flirting and he's getting in on the action and very upset.
Huh. It's amazing how they actually kind of interact and how they like kind of size each other up. It's almost like reminds me of Nyala bulls. And the Nyala bulls are like sizing each other up as well. It's the same with these penguins. It's amazing. It's wildlife is interesting at all aspects.
So what you got to see there, that flipper slapping, or the slapping of the flippers on the side of the body, is very typical of when the males are trying to get with the females. So they'll go up to her and they'll go behind her and they'll just pat her sides. And you can see, look at how he's establishing his dominance there. That's amazing. That's flirting there.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
This is actually super fascinating. So I've actually never seen a love triangle like this play out on Penguin Beach. Jason, have you seen this before? First time for Jason? And this little guy, he's smaller, but he's hoping to still win this female's heart. She's not all that receptive to the male who is actually trying with her, which is interesting.
What will she do if she is?
So she will choose who she'd like to be with. So if she's not receptive, you can see she's leaving him. Perhaps if the other penguin comes around and she is more receptive, he's
the other one's taking his chance.
I think the young guys like to call it shooting their shot. I believe that's the terminology these days.
That's right. It's almost the same as like the impalas. Sometimes you get those young male impalas that try to take their chance, especially now at this point of time in the Greater Kruger Park. You've got the rutting happening, so and the younger ones always trying to take their chance with the females. And of course, sometimes your dominant male loses out.
So this is an incredible thing to actually get to witness on the show. So we know that penguins are monogamous, and it's likely these penguins haven't established their partnerships yet.
Find a way into the kill to get their fill in there as well. But they're also going to be told off. See, lions are not great at sharing their food. Okay, guys. Let me just taking frustration out on the other lion, but you see, it was interesting.
In the woodlands of Juma lives a lion pride with a taste for buffalo.
Look, 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 this is insane. Now, this is what I was saying about lions and buffalo. It's absolute pandemonium.
WildEarth have been privileged to follow the Nkuhuma pride for many years. One of the most loved cats in the pride is Amber Eyes. She was not successful in rearing her first 2 litter of cubs and was seen as an aunt to the other youngsters. Then eventually, towards the end of August 2019, we found her with 4 tiny cubs of her own.
We've been having fun watching the penguins, but I want to go back to our goslings, the crazy 8s, who are in fact 9, because I cannot count. So the goslings are now sitting on an island, and I'm very curious to see if the penguins will go, if the goslings will go towards the penguins, because yesterday we actually had the geese attacking the penguins, and I always say on this show that the penguins are the bosses of Stony Point. Nothing messes with them. The Egyptian geese are brilliant parents, and so nothing is too much of a risk when they are protecting their young. The goslings are just having a little rest. I do think that the foraging, I think they spend more time out now than what they were spending when they were just newly hatched. I think their parents are really training them up nicely to get them adapted to the left wing, where a lot of the geese seem to like to feed. So we did have the browns earlier on this year, and the browns would nest very close to the left wing, and they were actually by the freshwater resource. I didn't show Cedric that, but I'll show him a bit later on. But these ducklings have come all the way from Jacuzzi. They make a very long journey to this area every day. And that is, look at them snuggling up, Cedric. Look how cute that is.
Oh, that is so, so cute. No, they're so adorable. I love it. It's amazing that these Egyptian geese, that they actually adapt themselves so well with different areas. I mean, if you look down towards Juma Game Reserve, it's very, very flat. And they come down here towards Penguin Beach. A lot of waves, very rough and all that, but they still really hang around and they still do very well. So it's amazing that actually the Egyptian geese is one of those birds that can really adapt itself for many kind of scenarios and weather conditions.
So Ellen, who is 10 years old, is watching, and she's asking if bird feathers are softer after a molt. That's a very interesting question, Ellen. I think penguin feathers are certainly not all that soft because they need to be quite hardy to withstand the ocean. With other birds, when the feathers are molted, the old feathers I think are quite soft because they're very worn down. So that would be my thoughts on it. Cedric, what do you say? Would you say they're softer after or before the molt?
I think they'll be softer afterwards. I think it's after as well. I fully agree. I think after the molt and all that, because then it's pretty much the new feathers, the barbules as well as well attached to each other. So I think due to the fact of that, I think that gives it like kind of a bit, like more of a softer resemblance and feel to it as well. But I might be wrong. It'll be interesting to know more.
Yeah, I think we'll go have a read about that. I'd say with birds like Egyptian geese, the feathers would be quite soft after they molted because the old feathers would have worn down. I think penguins are the opposite just because they need to have very hardy feathers to be able to spend as much time at sea. But certainly with birds that are a little bit more terrestrial, like your geese and perhaps even your cormorants, the feathers look very shiny and soft. They almost like after you've washed your hair, they tend to look a lot cleaner and perhaps a bit softer to the touch. But I'm going to have a bit of a read about that, Ellen, and I will get back to you tomorrow on the show. I believe Cedric might be joining us again tomorrow if he feels like it, which I think he will. I think he's having a good time down here at Penguin Beach, and so we'll talk about that with you. See how the
My name is Tessa. I studied animals and insects, and I specialized in African vertebrate biodiversity. But first and foremost, I am a naturalist here at WildEarth. What inspired me to become a naturalist was a combination of a childhood love and passion for wildlife from our family holidays. It just became this amazing passion, and it ignited this fire that just would not go away. To me, the skills that a naturalist should have would be that passion, making sure that you know why you've got that passion and keeping it going no matter what. The determination to never give up, because it's not the easiest place to be, but I can tell you in my experience it's the best place to be with the biggest differences that you can make. If I could be any animal, I think I would be a leopard. To me, they're the perfect combination of elegance and power and determination and independence, and yet just so beautiful.
So, looks like Mother Goose is calling. And sometimes with animals, if you can see the adult calling. You see it with elephants, I know. You'll see one animal making a noise, and suddenly the behavior of all the animals around changes. So this goose is calling, but the birds, the goslings, don't seem to be changing their behavior. They don't seem to be changing direction or anything. Wonder if this goose is calling for its partner, because the male has disappeared. So let's just stop calling now. So Lyra is saying that these Egyptian geese babies are beach babes and they like to surf the waves. And I would agree, they are. You've got Cedric having a nice little giggle here. They are certainly very hardy, having to withstand the force of these waves. And on the first day that they were sighted, Jason and I watched them in the waves, and the waves would crash and the poor ducklings would go into the rocks. But I think birds are much hardier than what we are. We've seen lots of penguins fall on the show. I've seen other birds have some big tumbles, and they just seem to carry on. But I think it is time for Cedric to enjoy some local cuisine down here at Penguin Beach. And so Perry is asking what age the chicks will start calling and vocalizing. The chicks are already making some squeaky noises. I'm not entirely sure. So they make sort of a twittering, I think it's a contact call, so just to hear their parents. At the age where they actually start calling as the adults do, I'm not entirely sure about that. So that is something we are going to have to research. So Perry, I'll get back to you. I'm not sure I'll be able to find that in a book, but we will see what we can find. That's a very good question. So we've got 2 unanswered questions today. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to get Cedric to move to the other side. And we are going to get Cedric to enjoy some sea bamboo. So sea bamboo is the kelp species most common in this area. And we're just making Cedric walk around. It's very good to keep Cedrics exercised, keeps them very happy, keeps them in a good mood. And we've got some sea bamboo, and I'd love you to just try it for us, Cedric, and just tell us what you think. It's a bit dry now, it's a bit tough.
Well, I enjoy eating things from the bush, so it's always kind of exciting. So thank you very much, Jax, for all this. I'll try.
You've gone in for a big bite there. You were quite hopeful. So I didn't tell Cedric how to do this properly. So if ever you're asked to try seaweed, what you want to do is you want to take a small bite and you want to take it towards the edge of the leaf, because it is quite tough. So it's very salty now that it's desiccated, actually. So now that it's dry, the salt has really come out in flavor. I usually have wet sea bamboo when I'm eating it. I usually take it from the ocean. So you wouldn't eat this again?
No, look, I think let me try the correct way. So I did not know about the right way, yeah. But I think a little bit of sushi with it will be perfect. I'll be happy.
Still not sold.
No, that's all right. Thanks, Zax. That's why I said.
Still not sold. So I recommend you do try sea bamboo at least once. It is not harmful. You can actually cook with it. So I know people who make pasta with it. I don't cook with it personally, but I will have a bite every now and then if I'm at sea. But let's head on back to the birds and let's see what they're up to.
I'm not going to come too close because I know you got your babies. And hello, you old friend. Isn't she spectacular?
Oh, look, it's just too special. She's such a fantastic mother.
Look at that, isn't that incredible?
All Wild Earth explorers have a chance to join our naturalists in a monthly Fireside Chat. This is a great way to learn more about our guides, animal characters, and wildlife locations. We would love to hear from you as to the topics that interest you the most. Email us your ideas or tweet using the hashtag WildEarth, and we will be sure to take them into account when planning our evenings around the fire in the future. Wild Earth explorers, it's in your nature.
So we've got two penguins having an argument in the water. They do seem to enjoy chasing each other around. So it is quite nice for them that you have these natural pools that form when the tide is high. We definitely see that the behavior changes and the birds are a lot more on edge as the tide comes in. There is a penguin who is getting fairly close to the ducklings. So we'll just keep an eye on that and see what happens, because if the geese realize what's happening, then they go full on into attack mode. I think the penguin has decided to be wise. And you'll see often they'll walk along that path. Birds will come in from the ocean here and then they'll walk that way and end up getting out the water once again and making their way to the nests. I think what could be quite exciting for us tomorrow is actually to tap into Cedric's amazing tracking skills and see what tracks and signs he can find for us here down at Penguin Beach. We were having a look at our penguin footprints and our penguin pathways. But as Byron has mentioned a lot, we don't do as much tracking. We look for other signs in the Cape. And certainly at sea, we're always looking for signs of bird activity. And we look for footprints and things like that caused by animals moving. And next to me, Cedric is showing a punch up because the penguins are getting very upset with each other. So we're watching a serene penguin who's just having a swim. It's all on its own. Oh, did that bird just catch a fish? So sometimes we do have fish that's actually pushed into this area. See what this penguin's doing. He's jumping out the water now. I went scuba diving 2 days ago and this penguin looks like me trying to get out the water when the tide was rushing in. Very similar scene. It's very difficult to time those exits, so often you do get smashed by the water onto the rocks. And out at sea, Jason, do you see all the Cape cormorants who are flying out there? So we're just going to look at some Cape cormorants flying by.
There's a big male leopard coming this way.
Been waiting for a sighting of the two of them like this together. She just, for me, is just one of the most pretty females out here.
As you can see, we're sitting with the Duke of Djuma, Tingana, who is busy surveying his territory as the sun begins to set on another day in South Africa.
Here at WildEarth, we have added a range of new products and designs for the WildEarth shop. If you love being in nature, then we have a new range just for you. Our animal character line continues to grow, and this week we have incorporated a beautiful Thandi design to celebrate our favorite queen's life. April is Earth Day month, and investing in our planet is the message. And finally, there's a range just for our very own WildEarth explorers. Head over to our shop now and see what you can find.
Common and Arctic terns, the comics, because they're very hard to identify. This is like the LBJs, the little brown jobs of the bush.
That's it. Always nice to see. Very nice to see.
Goodness, look at that. Okay, so very red feet, and then he doesn't have a pale rump. He's got grey all throughout his back, dark on his head. This is super exciting. We might have a new species on Penguin Beach here. We're looking for the terns. Yeah, hold that for me quickly. We'll just see. They're right at the beginning of my bird book. They're not. Let's see, have a look. That's gulls, skimmers, terns, 212. So very, very exciting. I don't think we've seen this tern species, so have a look here. It could be the common, but it's got quite a dark. Let's see. So this might be a common tern, and they're supposed to actually migrate back, but some of them stay throughout the year. Pale grey and rump and tail. So it might be the common tern, because the Arctic, the Antarctic, and the Rosier, which is the 3 other terns that look similar, all have a white bum. And this has a grey bum, so this is a common tern, which I think we have seen on the show, but certainly I don't think we've ever gotten such a good view. Jason, have you ever seen a common tern sit like this before for us?
Oh, it's so nice.
So typically, actually, common terns will sit in big roosts, and they do sit on the shoreline, but they will all sit in a nice big group together. And I'm wondering, actually, the terns we saw earlier, if that was not a group of common terns there too. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's what's so amazing around here. You get all different birds, your bird life here. I think I've got about maybe 7, 8 different new species on my list from yesterday until today. So Jax and Byron have really put some new species of birds down on my list, which is fantastic. I mean, it's you got to like know somebody that knows these birds and where to look for certain species. And no, it is really, really wonderful. Being down this side and just taking a look at this, your excitement for that tern as well. It was just incredible. You almost jumped over this hedge here.
I really like terns, and terns are the LBJs, the little brown jobs of the ocean, because it's so difficult to tell the difference between the, particularly, like I said, the common, the Arctic, and the Antarctic. It's just the plain grey rump that you would see for the difference, but yeah, you can see their common tern, it's migrant. It's so cool to get to see them, and so unusual. I think this is the first time I've ever seen a common tern actually sit by itself. Often on the shoreline they are in these nice big groups. So I wonder what the safari team are getting up to. I think we're having way too much fun on this side. Looks like they are looking for some lions.
As most of you know by now, the reigning queen of Djuma, Thandi, has recently passed on. At 16 years, she had a long and fruitful existence.
She just, for me, is just one of the most pretty females out here.
Look. Oh, Thandi, you beaut. You've done so well. Here we go, everyone.
How beautiful is that? Having the two of them drinking together.
Join the one and only leopard whisperer Tristan Dix around the fire with Rexon and Liam for a look back at Tandy's extraordinary life. This touching memorial will be open to all our registered viewers. Head over to our website on the 1st of May after the Sunset Safari to join in the celebration. This marks the beginning of World Leopard Week, where the challenge is on to see as many rosettes as possible. Rexon, our master tracker, will be leading the charge. We need as many eyes as possible, so please join us for a week of big cat fun.
Will be fantastic.
So Lisa, like Cedric, has a new bird, and it is the common tern, so that's very exciting. I love to be the first person to show people things. That always makes me very happy.
Thanks, Jack.
So they're looking for lions and elephants on safari. I think we're very happy with our common tern. And this tern is so relaxed. Often they're quite skittish, so if you had to be quite close, they fly off. And this tern is just happy to bath in front of us and relax in front of us. So they will breed on site exactly like what you see, or they will roost certainly. So just a couple of rocks like this, you'll have all of the terns sit down, and wherever they are, you'll see lots of guano. Very, very cool to see one sitting with us. I think that's been the highlight for me so far. And we also have a crowned cormorant, I believe, or is it a young cape? I think it's a young cape cormorant actually, who has joined in here in the left wing. It's a young cape cormorant, and so the young cape cormorants don't have a very orange face, the adults do. And he's likely looking for clipfish. So can you see him hunting, Cedric?
Yeah, that is like his head down underwater. Fantastic.
So the clipfish will sit on the rocks. And clipfish is a rock fish. It's not a rock sucker fish, it just sits on the rock. So we'll just see what this young Cape cormorant will find. There are also small schools of fish that sometimes get trapped here. I love watching cormorants hunt though. They're
Do you think he's, because he's so young, he's a bit nervous going out to sea, or do you think this is how they start off learning how to, hunt for food around here, the cormorants?
I think it's a combination of both. I think when they're very young, they learn in the shallow water. Cape cormorants typically feed in flocks, so they'll go out in a large flock, sometimes called mega flocks, when they go out, and they all fly in that V-shaped formation. So I don't know if it's like with the penguins, where they prefer to have your older birds in the big flocks, if the younger birds also maybe get a bit of trouble or cause a bit of trouble by being a bit slow. We only have a couple of minutes left in today's show, so I think we had a good time. We got to see Cedric eat kelp and spit kelp out. We got to see some penguin fights. So I think overall a really fantastic time down here at Penguin Beach. And Ollie's got a comment for us. So Ollie says he's had a lot of fun. It's been a really great show. Thank you guys. I'm so glad that you've enjoyed it. We'll rope Cedric in for tomorrow and see what he says. I'm going to go eat my lunch that he's paying for with our Egyptian goose that is in fact a duck.
That's it. Well done, Dax. She got that. She got me. She hit me for a 6.
And on behalf of Jason, Cedric and myself, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your wonderful questions. Tomorrow Flippy is back behind the camera, and we are hoping for an amazing show. So let's spend our last couple of seconds just watching the ocean. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.